Hey everyone, and welcome to Holding the Line with Got Your Six Counseling. I'm Peggy, and this is Brittany. This is a space where we get real about the shit nobody wants to talk about: mental health, life, trauma, healing, and everything in between. Sometimes we get clinical, sometimes we get messy, but it's always honest. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't therapy, and it's not a substitute for professional care. We're not here to provide therapy, diagnose, or treat. If you're struggling with mental health, please reach out to a licensed provider. You don't have to go through it alone. We've got your six. We're just two trauma therapists showing up as humans first, ready to have real, unfiltered conversations about the stuff that matters. We're here to break the stigma, share what we've learned from both sides of the therapy room, and talk about the challenges people face every day, especially in the veteran and first responder communities. Whether it's trauma, burnout, relationships, identity, or just getting through the week, we believe that these conversations matter. They deserve space, and that's what we're holding the line for. So let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of Holding the Line with Got Your Six. I'm your host, Brittany. It's my other host, Peggy. Today, we are joined by Shawn Coss. Am I saying that right? Shawn Coss. He is the author of the It's All in Your Head book series. This is the second edition, right? Second edition. He's coming out with a third edition here soon, which I haven't yet get my hands on. It hasn't actually come out yet, right? You're kind of crowdsourcing it.
Yeah, it comes out later this year.
Later this year. I would love to get my hands on the first edition, but I've got some art back here. I got some over here that we can talk about later. But he is the illustrator, mental health advocate, and founder of Any Means Necessary. His work has reached thousands, millions, offering the visual representations of mental health conditions that speak louder than words ever could. I remember the first time I saw the Facebook ad and I was like, oh my God, this artwork is amazing. I didn't buy it right away. I'm sorry. And then this year, our boss was like, oh my God, have you seen these? And then she was showing us the art. And then Peggy and I both like immediately went and was like, shut up and take my money. And then we kind of got like obsessed with it. I bought both PTSD art prints and then several more. And I feel like we both just keep buying more and more art prints. If you've ever seen an image that made you feel understood in your trauma, there's a good chance it came from him. So, Shawn, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you came into this, how you started like creating your artwork, because we're all dying to know your backstory.
Oh, first, thanks for letting me be on here. My story kind of goes all over the place, but I mean, are we talking about like my artwork in general or like the mental health aspect of the art?
Well, yeah, like the mental health aspect, like I honestly didn't think that you would like respond. So you say thank you for letting me be on here. We're like, thank you for responding, because I reached out and I was like, this is a long shot. And then you responded and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, just start wherever you feel is good. Because I know you had mentioned to us in our little prelim meeting that you kind of had a mental health background, and like, yeah, I think you said it was your dad kind of had some mental health issues. So I kind of just start at the beginning. And
Well, yeah, so I mean, born in the UK, military brat, moved over here in the United States, been here most of my life. I reside in Ohio. So I've been for the last, I don't know, 20 something years, 25 years. I don't know, I'm 42, so old as shit now. Always been drawn towards artwork, but I just started like diving into like the mental health part when I was like around like 2016, 2015. I was a registered nurse at the time. I worked in the ER here out in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, which no one knows where that is unless you live in Ohio. But I was a ER nurse. I was a RN for 11 years, saw a lot of firsthand patients with like mental health issues coming in, full-on crisis, psychosis, delusions, all that stuff. And I've always been drawn towards mental health because I've dealt with, depression, social anxiety for most of my life. But growing up military family, growing up in the 90s, something like that, like we sort of weren't really allowed to show emotion as a male in the family. It's just anger or stoicism, that word. You know what I mean? That word.
words are hard.
That's a hard word. That's a hard word. I battled with it though, but I didn't really know what it was. My dad just said, suck it up, be a man, move the fuck on. I won't get there's a lot of stuff that happened younger in my life that kind of led me towards where I'm at now. But I'll say it briefly, and if we want to go back to it later, we can. But like at 16, I tried to blow my brains out after a really bad acid trip. Girlfriend broke up with me, was messing with my best friend. I was coming down hard on my acid, so I went home, put a rifle to my mouth, and was just ready to pull the trigger. Didn't do it, but I was ready to. But we can go back to that part. Fast forward all this way to 2016. I really felt like mental health wasn't being portrayed correctly.
Yeah.
I always felt like any artwork I saw was just like, I've got depression, yay! And it's big, happy sunshine, all this, bullshit. I was like, man, I feel like I'm battling fucking monsters and demons every day just to kind of get myself through the day. I never saw that type of artwork, and so I started off with, which one was it? I think it was bipolar disorder and then borderline personality disorder. Posted those up on social medias, and like it got a very large reaction, both positive and negative. And I kind of kept just creating more pieces. And this was during the month of October. I'm jumping all over the place. I apologize. My mind's racing right now, so I'm trying to get this all out. So you'll see me kind of like wandering around. But it was during October, which is Inktober. Every year, artists get together. They draw a new piece for every day of October to kind of push ourselves creatively. I didn't want to follow the prompt because I'm not really a follower. I kind of make my own path, and so I wanted to kind of cover mental health. So I did 31 different mental health behaviors and was just kind of posting them on social media, not thinking much of it. But then I just started seeing like this massive growth of like followers, messages, people loving it, people hating it, people wishing I was dead. And I kind of just noticed this shift of people are talking about mental health more and they're being a little bit more open about it. And then people are using my artwork to kind of talk about how they feel. And it just became like this whole thing that inspired me to, I was like, man, like I love drawing creepy stuff. I love doing artwork. But when I'm drawing like all these monsters and weird tattoo designs, like there's no emotion to it. It's just artwork. It's cool stylistic stuff. But when I'm drawing stuff that's like mental health, very emotional driven, whether it's mental health behaviors, struggling with addiction, the loss of a child, like all these types of human emotions that we all experience or may experience, I found what would you say, a deeper connection to the artwork because it was connecting to other people. And so my trajectory of what my artwork was shifted towards this like unconventional advocate for mental health. Very open about my mental health. I don't talk about it. Like people always come at me and they're like, you did all this work. What do you have? I'm like, well, it's not a fucking Pokemon collection. Like, let me check out my fucking cards.
I mean, for
like,
some it
I've got
is.
depression, anxiety. It is some, but like I am so very like pretty private about some of the stuff. Like in podcasts, I'll talk about a little bit more open, but like I'm so reserved a little bit because I feel like there should be something left to be desired, I guess. That's a weird thing to say. But like I don't always want to talk about what I've gone through, what I experience. I let my artwork do the speaking and just kind of put it out there. I don't know if that answered the fucking question, but we're on a good start of rambling already. And this is not vodka, this is water.
I mean, we wouldn't judge you if it was.
No, all my liquor is back here. I just haven't touched it yet.
I mean, so generally speaking, and I know Peggy and I talked about this before, did you ever hesitate, like when you were making all this art and like looking through some of the artwork for like the one that jumped out for me, and Peggy can probably validate this, like both of us have children with autism, right? That one jumped out for me for sure. Did you ever hesitate to go like that raw or that is raw the right word? Brutally honest, right? Like I can pull it up. I have it framed. I can pull it up and show like the people that are going to be watching this because
we're talking about just the autism
not
one.
Just
like not that one, but like that one. A bunch of them jumped
like
out.
histrionic
For me,
or any of those, like just
Oh,
going
yeah.
that
Yeah, the
raw
histrionic
and that
one.
brutal with them.
Yeah.
The
Did you ever
histrionic one pissed a lot
hesitate,
of
or were
people
you
off.
just like, I'm going all out?
No, yeah. For as long as I've been alive, I've never given a fuck about what anyone thinks about my work.
Love
or
that.
like me personally, like everyone's opinions. Like I got so many people who are like, man, I hope you die. I'm like, sweet man, like
Thank you.
you're miserable in life, otherwise you wouldn't be spending time insulting me.
Right.
So like we'll talk about the autism one first, and we'll hit the histrionic one because that one pissed off so many women.
Yes.
And I didn't mean for it to piss off so many women, but from what I read, it's more experience in women.
Yeah.
Not saying it is all women, but there's it leans more towards women, I guess. I don't know how to say that any other way. Now, given my stats might be wrong now, because obviously stuff changes every couple of years. We're getting more and more open about what men are struggling with, because before it's like, men don't have mental health. It's like, well, actually we do. We're fucked up too. Like, we're just as fucked or more fucked up in the head because we try to convince ourselves that we're not fucked up. But with autism, that one I put out there, and it was never meant to be in the book, but a mother reached out to me and was explaining to me what her child was experiencing. It's like, my kid's severely autistic, like on the more severe side of the spectrum, where he always has a hard time, like, speaking, like how he feels, and because of it, he gets more frustrated. He bursts out in anger and all this stuff. So, image is this face that's like stitched together, and his hands are kind of clawed into the ground, but there's a mouth screaming. And so the image is supposed to personify, like, he knows what he wants to say. It's in his brain, but when it's coming out of his mouth, like, he's not being able to put the words out correctly, or it's being misunderstood, and it's frustrating. And she said it'd been a very long battle, and that was the only piece of artwork that she said, like, really nailed it. And I had all these people come at me that are on the spectrum and telling me that, his mom's just looking for sympathy and she's using his autism as a way to get attention, all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Like, she told me what she's experiencing, and from what I could read in our emails back and forth, I was like, she seemed genuinely like she cares about her kid. I don't think she's like, check out my autistic kid. I'm going to benefit off of this. And I've had a few people on the spectrum come up to me in conventions and just directly be like, what the fuck's this? Like, hit me right in the face with it. Like, explain this. And I do. And they always walk away with a better understanding. Problem is, when you see that image first thing on the internet, and you could be in a bad mood, or you're already used to, like, having to be protected, and you're seeing this, like, your first thought may be like, oh, I'm a burden. I'm burdening people. That's what this person's portraying it as. And so they come at me with pitchforks already. But everyone I've talked to, I've only had one or two people who I've talked to about it who still told me to go fuck myself. But most people I discuss it with have a better understanding. And I even say, it's not a mental health disorder by any means. Like, some of the smartest people I know are autistic. My tattoo artist is severely autistic, and he's fucking amazing. Like, we have to, and even I have, I grew up in, I would say, like, a more conservative hillbilly area, West Virginia. So, like, autism was with, Asperger's and mental retardation. Like, it was all together, because that's just, they're very just like, just group it all together, fuck it. And then, as we moved to Ohio, which isn't much better, by the way, I started learning a lot more. It's like, autism isn't anywhere near these two things over here. And it's just like, we just kind of group shit together because they're still trying to figure everything out. And so I tried to explain to them, like, this wasn't supposed to be insult towards anyone. Same thing with all the other mental health disorders. They're not supposed to be insulting in any way. It's supposed to personify, like, that demon, that monster that you're battling. Histrionic, that one.
Ooh, buddy.
So I have a lot of friends.
Yeah,
What's
like,
that?
ooh, buddy, that one pulls some feels.
So with that one, I have a lot of friends in the porn industry. I have a lot of friends who do OnlyFans and are strippers, like, and a lot of them have a lot of the most similar upbringings, and, like, this striving for, like, this attention, this over sexualization. Like, I went with the more stripper route to it. Now, is that everyone? No. But I try to tell people all the time that, like, I'm taking something this big, histrionic, bipolar, anything, and I'm making it into one image. So I have to try and hit that topic, that subject, with one image, so that when you see it, it elicits a response from you. And what I tell people is, like, I wanted to catch you off guard because I wanted to make you go, okay, what is this? I want to read up on this now. I did fault with the second dose edition because I didn't put descriptions on the second parts, so I didn't really get to talk about histrionic. I did do it in the third book, so there was a third in the third edition, there's actually a description on it, and the descriptions are much longer in the new books. I want the new book to be used more as a tabletop and also like academically for like therapists. So like I really made sure like it hits a lot of different parts. It's not just like a brief description. But yeah, the histrionic autism, the borderline personality one's also one that pissed a lot of people off. Because the first one I did, that was like my second piece ever. So like I'm still getting my grasp and I was trying to kind of like figure it out. But a lot of people were like, why'd you have to make it a woman? I'm like, I just like drawing women, guys. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm a guy.
Like, well, I was like, listen, women are just beautiful creatures. That's just what you are. Like, you're beautiful in all sense of ways. Guys are just ugly, fucking grunty looking guys. We're just all like ogres, okay? I'd rather be drawing fucking women all day than fucking ogres.
Fair.
So, like, when I draw like a certain character, female, male, it's never, except for like histrionic, because that was more based on like what I had been reading, but most of it's just like whatever figure I want to put in there at the time. You know, like the dependent personality disorder, I think one of them I have is like the female on top. That's coming from experience. So like I was using experience I've had with a past relationship to like create that piece. But again, people have their pitchforks ready and they're like, oh, so all women are just dependent. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
The narcissist one also, like
oh, dude, that one pissed so many people off.
But it was so representative. It was so good though.
Well, even I mean, fuck it, let's get political too. Image really depicts who our fucking president is right now. So like, this dude thinks he's God. He's fucking posting pictures of him as the Pope. You're like, I actually had someone comment yesterday that they wish they wouldn't have spent the $65 on the book because she felt politically attacked. And I just replied back with, good. Because I'm sorry, man. Like, we're in a fucked up time right now. And that piece definitely ruffled a lot of white men's feelings very hard.
Like, if you feel seen by something, then I'm doing my job, right?
Yeah. It's just, you know, that's how I was feeling, you know, because when I was posting that, the second part of like those descriptions is like my own personal reason behind it. So like I never shy away. Like I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I'm kind of like left center, I think. You know, I love guns, I'm pro abortion, I'm freedom of religion, I'm pro LGBTQ. Like I can think both ways. Like I can be very conservative with finances, but be very accepting of people and their, you know, pronouns. Like it's not that fucking hard. And so like I piss off the left just as much as I piss off the right because I don't really fit in a category. And so whenever I start talking about, let's say, conservative views, my leftist friends are like, do you sound like a Republican? But then I have the same thing where they're like, you sound like a Democrat. It's like, no, man, I'm just thinking for myself. Like, I'm tired of being told what to think.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the process for you? Like when you were doing I know you said like you started out in Inktober, what is it, Inktober? Yeah, when you were making the artwork. But when you started doing the books, you're looking at a diagnosis and you're like, okay, I'm doing borderline or, you know, whatever. Does an image come to you or does it have to be like this process where you're like looking at the criteria, like for us, we use the DSM, right? But like you're looking at the criteria for it and you're just like, does an image come to you or do you have to like really like work through a process of like how that's gonna like for the art for you?
So some of them come instantly, just like ones I've dealt with, like social anxiety, depression, like that stuff's easy because I'm like, my depression feels like I'm just being slowly pulled down into the earth.
Yeah.
You know, by this like fucking just slime. Like everything's just quicksand, I'm just falling in. Stuff like borderline, I feel like the newest one that I've come out with really hits it, but only because a friend of mine who has her own book that's all about borderline personality. She's diagnosed with it and she's very big into like dispelling everything that it is. And she actually commissioned me for a piece that's this like angel and demon stitched together and it's like ripping itself apart. And she was explaining like how that so much speaks to like what her borderline personality is. So like when I first read it, I usually look up, I forget which DSM I was looking at the time. And then I started doing like my Google search. I go to Mayo Clinic the NIMH. I try to like go to all these different websites to kind of get like this idea of behavior, symptoms, experiences, stuff like that. And then I'll start looking up like articles on people who have certain behaviors. And so borderline was a difficult one. I'm trying to think of some of that. Schizophrenia, kind of hard, not kind of hard. It got, I think people had a hard time understanding it. They thought it was a religious attack for whatever reason. But I remember in nursing school learning about when we were doing our psych rotation, how there would be some patients where they're like, I have to do this to prevent this from happening. So like the one case study they're telling us was like this guy he really believed if he cut his Achilles tendons, it would prevent the earth from exploding. And so like they had to like lock him down from like trying to cut his Achilles tendons. And so my depiction is this figure with his hands up and there's crosses everywhere.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, it's this, why is it attacking religion? I'm like, it's not. I was like, but this being believes that he needs to put all this on him for a reason. I don't really go into like what the reason is, but it's like, he's doing it because he thinks that if I do this, this won't happen.
Right. It's delusional thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So that one was a little difficult. And same thing with like schizophrenia and then schizoaffective disorder. And like, there's all these like, I call those like subclasses. I'm not sure if like that's the right way to call it, but there's like all these little things here that like nuances that like separate them. And
yeah. So, well, they overlap. So it's hard to differentiate some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so if this one's paranoid schizophrenia, this one's just schizophrenia, then you have auditory and then visual hallucinations. It's like, okay, how do I differentiate this? But a lot of it's just, I read up on some case studies. I had a friend up in Solon, Ohio, as an art therapist who would send me case studies on like conduct disorder for kids, like where that would like potentially lead to like antisocial, personality disorder. And so that part, I don't know. The first series wasn't super difficult for me because I think I was just in that flow. Like every day I was just studying and like it was just coming to me. Second one, probably a little bit more difficult because I was trying to expand it a little bit more. I was tackling pica, hoarding. It's just like trying to figure out how do I show hoarding as like a figure, Right. And so I went back to the movie Labyrinth where the girl falls into like this part where she's supposed to forget and there's this like hulking fucking creature that's just got shit all over her. I was like, oh, that is kind of like a personified hoarder to me. So yeah, the first series wasn't necessarily hard other than trying to figure out. Oh no, actually there is. Sorry, go back. OCD. That one, I will tell you right now, what I knew then and what I know now is vastly different with OCD. I went the stereotypical route with the whole cleaning thing.
Yeah.
Because I knew that is what people identify OCD with. And then in the description, I talk about how it's more than just that. But then from there until now, I've learned about, my dad has OCD, which he will not admit because he's a conservative West Virginia boy. So like, he's perfectly fine. We're all
mental health isn't real.
Exactly. My business partner has severe OCD with ADHD and anxiety. My neighbor, who's a friend of ours for like last 20 years, has OCD and anxiety. My friend up in Parma has OCD and anxiety, and they all have the same fucking symptoms. I'm like, oh my God, how did I miss this? It's like these intrusive thoughts, this rumination. I had that preconceived notion of like, oh, it's always about cleaning or repetition, but it's not. And it's just like, holy shit, like I just started learning so much and just listening to my business partner talk. I'm like, oh my God, like, so the one, and this is like a minor thing, but my daughter does it too. But I don't know if she's 8, so I don't know if they can officially diagnose her with OCD, but at night, or even in a conversation, like my business partner, my dad, will think of every possible outcome in a conversation that we're having. So if you and I are talking about this, in his head, he's going, okay, he's going to say this, so I'm going to say this. But if he says this, I'm going to say this. And if he says that, I'm going to say, and it branches out in all these different pathways of how the conversation is going to go. And they play it out in their head multiple times in infinite possibilities, like fucking Marvel Endgame. with Doctor Strange. My dad does the same thing. Cause I asked my dad one day, I was like, Dad, when you go to sleep, do you run through the whole day and think of every possible way you could have changed it? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, that's not normal, Dad.
For him,
Like,
it is.
no one,
It's routine.
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And I was just like, I was like, let me ask you this. I was like, if we're having a conversation, are you listening to me or are you already thinking about what to say next? And then what you think I'm going to say after that and how you're going to respond to that? He goes, yeah. I'm like, that's not normal. Like, that's like, no.
How are you even functioning this way?
Well, yeah. So like my dad and my business partner are the same person, which is very weird. Cause when I'm at work at our studio, and I'm talking with my business partner, it's like I'm talking to my dad, except, younger. And I'm just like, that's why they're so exhausted all the time, because they're playing through this mental gymnastics of all this stuff that's, like the one is my business partner can't not say something. Like if he hears like a noise or if like he hurts, he has to tell you it hurts. He has to be vocal about it. I'm like, you don't have to say anything. He goes, I have to. If I don't, I feel like I'm going to explode. I'm like, okay, I'm learning a lot. Sorry, I rambled. I forgot what the point was.
You're totally fine.
No, you're fine. You're
We
fine.
I do want to point out. If anyone is, when people do watch this, I'm not saying I'm not mentally dealing with shit already. It's just I realize I'm not alone. Like I thought it was just me for years. That like, oh hello, Mom was at dance with Ellie. All right, that was my daughter. I realized that like for years I thought it was just me. I was the one with anxiety. I was the one with depression, and everyone else was okay.
Right. Normal, fine. You're the only one suffering.
Yep. And even my business partner, like, he always said, like, oh no, dude, like, it's you. You're always anxious. Like you're depressed. He used to think I was a narcissist. And then like he starts seeing a therapist and he goes, oh, I have OCD. I'm like, no shit. And we start thinking about it. I was like, motherfucker, every argument we've had is because of you.
It's all your fault.
Then you start like the Spider-Man pointing at each other like, it's you.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I don't want people to have the misconception that I'm like dogging on my dad, my business partner. It's just I realize that like mental health isn't just a small subsect of like
Right.
Mental health is literally everyone. We all have something going on, which is whether you're diagnosed or not.
Yeah.
How do you?
I remember when I got your book and I was showing my patients and showing them like the PTSD and some of the stuff, and I got a lot of mixed reactions from it. I don't know. Peggy's telehealth, so I don't know if you were showing their people.
Absolutely.
The book,
It's
but,
like holding it up to the screen
yeah.
and they're all like,
Yeah.
it in cart. They're like, how do I order this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, stop. Put down your credit card.
A lot of my patients that resonated with it were like buying it. And then some were kind of like, nah, they kind of had mixed reactions to it. But what were you gonna about, Peggy?
Well, because like you're creating all of this emotionally intense work, you're actually consuming a lot of that, like the content about it. How do you kind of balance that without letting that kind of content consume you?
I'm a sociopath. No.
Absolutely. Love it for you.
I mean,
Clearly.
I want to say it's probably because, I don't know, we'll say it's nursing. Like as a registered nurse in the ER, like you have to learn how to compartmentalize shit very quickly. So like when we had in 2019, I think we had like the highest number of heroin overdoses in Ohio. Like we actually beat the whole country. We had, I forget how many in the month of November. And I was there in the ER having to code 15-year-old kids who don't make it because they decide to try heroin for the first time that's laced with fentanyl or carfentanil. And you're doing chest compressions on a kid while his parents are bawling their eyes out saying, please pull through, or something. And this is on Christmas Eve, by the way. Let's put that out there. And they don't pull through. You can't just break down in front of them either. Like, I guess you could, but like, I can't just check out. Like my brain just checks out and I start fucking thinking about weird shit. Like, what am I going to eat tonight after this as I'm doing chest compressions? So like, I've had to learn to compartmentalize. I've had some fucked up shit happen to me as a kid. That thankfully I don't remember, but there's some parts that have been coming back to me that I'm like, oh shit. So I've gotten used to like pushing things aside. And so like when I'm learning about this stuff, it's so hard with kid stuff. Like if we're talking about like, child abuse, sexual assault, stuff like that, I try to not read it because if I don't, I want to go on a fucking vengeance tour and start, deleting people from the earth who are like hurting kids. So I have to like be careful on like what I consume because if I start like, I used to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, but there was one episode where they're talking about like the dark web and about how these people are grooming kids to assault them. And I'm just like, I want to find all of you and just end your bloodlines. So that's pretty much it. It's compartmentalizing. I'll probably pay for it later. Down the road, it'll just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's going to come back down at you.
Yeah.
Do you think your own experiences with trauma, like you said, yourself from childhood, and then like being in not just a nurse, but like an ER nurse in the wake of like the opioid epidemic, like you just mentioned, kind of channeled your like art for PTSD and other trauma disorders into like, was that easy for you to like create that art? Because
no, I know my brother-in-law is getting his PhD in like traumatic brain injuries and all that stuff. Did an actual study on me as a child because I was super creative at an age I shouldn't have been creating the things I was creating. But we had found out that my mom used to shake me as a baby to make me go to sleep. But it wasn't anything against her. She was 18 when she had me. So like I just wouldn't shut the fuck up. I cried all the time. So she would shake me apparently and causing all this little head trauma. And he did a whole study on like that type of trauma can unlock certain things like, like I don't have a filter. I'll just fucking blurt shit out. I'm over sexualized. I'm super creative and stuff like that. And he did a whole study on like showing that type of traumatic brain injury at such a young age can sometimes create into that part. And so I was doing things I forget what age I was, but he was like, you were like 3-4 years ahead of where you should have been when you were creating like this artwork. Like I was creating like comic books and storylines. He goes, you shouldn't even have these type of concepts in your head already. But I think because of that, it's just, I don't know, so much easier to create, I guess. I don't know.
So it came supernatural to you is what you're saying, like before most people are creating that sort of thing.
Yeah. Like I've always been drawn to art. So I've always been able to like, if you gave me a topic, I never sit there and go like, I just don't know what I can do with that.
Where do I begin?
I can always, I can always come up with something. Sometimes it hits me right away, and other times it might take me like a day or two where I just got to like sit on it for a little bit and be like, all right, what can I do with this piece? And then I'll start breaking the piece down to like, let's just say it's a phrase, and I'll find like certain words. I'm like, okay, what's that? Does that word trigger something? And then my brain will just, start seeing all these different visions and visuals of like what it could be, and like, okay, if I can't do this in a personified way, what object can I use to represent this now? So like whether it's like a weapon, a tool, a scenery, stuff like that.
Have you ever been tested for autism?
I mean, it is a spectrum, right?
Right.
So
yep,
very much.
It is a spectrum. I mean,
sounds
to be
a little
honest,
neurospicy, doesn't it, Peggy?
Right.
You leave me alone.
To be honest, like I've met people who are like severely autistic that have a hard time in functioning in society, and then I have people where they're like, "Yeah, I have autism." Like, are you just saying that just to have it? Like, are you just saying like, "Yeah, man, I got autism"? Like, I don't know. I could. I'm not. I was misdiagnosed with ADHD for a very long time. I was on Adderall for years, which I love, by the way. I shouldn't say that, but I loved it. I got so much shit done.
You were misdiagnosed as you stand and sway and pace while we talk.
Yeah.
He's standing.
Well, I am standing. It helps me think. Maybe I am. Who the fuck knows?
Stimming or hyperactive. We'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Adderall, unfortunately, made me lose like a fuck ton of weight because I was eating like once every couple of days. slept 3 hours a day, so wasn't really great for my heart. But
Yeah, I'm
I was fucking
functioning.
yeah.
I'm okay, I swear.
I wouldn't be opposed to getting back on it because my memory has gotten so bad now. But I think that could just be due to age. I have so much happening that I try to remember it, and I just like it's very frustrating. I hate saying at my age, but like I feel like I can't remember shit anymore. Like I have to write it down. I have to do this and this and I'm just like, man, is that because I'm getting older? Is it because all the drugs I did when I was real young, or
Combination.
you know,
Executive
combination? Yeah,
dysfunction.
right.
Did you get any specific feedback from, like, I know you said like the autistic community was like, we're very upset by this artwork. Was there any other, specific population of people that were very upset or very moved by any specific art that you have created?
I will say, for the first time ever, there was an autistic Facebook group that was called "Fuck Shawn Coss." And it had like a couple
Yes.
hundred members in it. And I was like, holy shit! Like I have a
Wow.
fucking group that hates
You
me.
have a
You have
hate
that
group.
hate group. You made it.
Dude. But the one thing that bothered me was someone was like, I hope your kids have autism. Like, that's such a weird thing to like say, but okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they will. But most of the time it's so in the beginning it was just a lot of people saying like, this helped me. You literally saved my life. I was on the verge of exiting life and all that stuff and getting a lot of those messages for years. It wasn't until about 2 years ago when I started doing these oddity and curiosity shows where I would just have therapists show up like 10, 20, 30 in a weekend. And every time I'm just like, fuck, they're about to tell me I did shit wrong. Like, oh no. And they're always like, I can't thank you enough. I have 6 of these books. I use it. A lot of them have younger clientele, teenage years. And they said like, they'll put that book down and they'll let them look like, does any of these pictures stand out to you? And they don't really use it in terms of like, okay, that's depression. They're just using almost like the visual and be like, do you feel like any of these visuals? And so many of these kids react to it. And they said like they've had kids that they've had for years that weren't able to describe how they felt until they saw these images. And they said it really opened up like their progress on like being able to manage better because of this artwork. And a lot of them are like, we talked a lot with our clients, but we never really like did a lot of visual aid with them. And so I've been having a lot of therapists now telling me like, this book's helped a ton. Like we use this. I have correctional facilities that'll usually, reach out. They'll buy a book and then we'll usually send like 10 or 20 of them like as charity to kind of like so can pass out. So yeah, it's been mostly well received. I always say like when someone buys a book, I've only had 2 people I think in the last since 2016 return the book and want their money back.
Wow.
Which is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And I even put a thing out there saying, so people on Facebook, they see the ad, they don't know who I am. So they attack me. And this one guy's like, I'm going to buy this book just to burn it. I'm like,
You do that.
I will, if you send me the video of you burn that book, I will refund you the book cost because I'm going to use that for content.
Right.
And
I will make money off of that.
Yes. I said, dude, I've always wanted to, you ever remember like the old like Bible or not Bible, like book burning events in like the small towns? I wanted to do a whole video of people burning up my mental health book and just burning a bunch of them, and like that would be the ad. But yeah, like I've told people like, hey, if you hate the book, give me a video of why you hate it because I'm going to use it. Now I'll give you your money back. I'll refund you your shipping and the cost of the book. So you'll get your money back and you got to torch the book.
Right. Because you won't hate it once you start
on
looking through it.
Yeah, and like I tell people, the reason why I put this 3rd edition, which actually, real quick, the 1st edition is in the 2nd dose edition. So
like all the art is in it.
Yeah, so like I went with 2nd dose edition because I was going with the whole like abridged version. That high school you'd have a book and you'd have 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th edition because they just keep adding to that same book. So if you have the 2nd dose edition, you actually have volume 1 and 2 together. Yeah. But volume 3 is kind of my response to a lot of people were like, I wish there was more information about behavior. And like some of them I have like OCD, there's like 4 different pieces of artwork to accompany the description.
Yeah.
And so Tourette's, I have two versions of it. Depression, I have like 3 different versions. And so I really went heavier in this to make it more of like, so therapists can actually use it and, you know, hand it to the client. They can read it and actually be like, oh, okay, like I understand like histrionic, you know, disorder, stuff like that.
And we do use it.
Forgetting, I keep losing track of where the fuck I am.
I promise
No,
you're
you're fine. We do use it. I have 3. I have a copy on display. I have one at work. And then when my son, who is 16, saw it, he demanded his own copy, which is the one that I have here, because he's literally obsessed with you in this book. When he knew that I was doing this tonight, he's like, you're gonna be with him tonight, right? And I was like, yes. He's like, I'm so jealous.
Where is he?
He is in his room right now. So
tell him to come down and say hey.
I'll tell him to come down when we're finished. But he was very excited. He was like, he was like, I need my own book. He was actually quizzing his own therapist, bless her, on disorders. I was like, bro, you're no match. Please calm down. But he has his displayed in his room the same way I have mine displayed. There's like literally right next to his computer. So I think it does make people feel very validated to like see the photo and then, or not the photo, but like the art of it, because they've never seen it portrayed that way, right? Like they're in their own depths of their depression or their bipolar. Or like the substance abuse one was very interesting for me because like you talked about the opioid epidemic and then like doing CPR. And like my family has a very extensive history of substance abuse, and I was showing people in my family, and some were like, no, that's not how it is. And then some were like, oh my God, I've never felt more seen in my life. So you get the mixed reviews, but I think it does make them feel validated in like now it's portrayed in real life, or, however you want to say that. You've never really seen it that way, but it's just a feeling until you see it on paper.
Because like
yeah, and I always try to tell people too that, it may not fit, like, I have stuff with bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder or some of the other more common ones, and someone will be like, that's not me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not you. Good. I was like, but it's 300 of these other people's, that's how they feel. And they're like, well, you're misrepresenting it. I'm like, I'm not misrepresenting it. It just doesn't fit what you're experiencing, and that's okay. And I always tell them, I got 1 page to create to personify this, right, such a big subject. I was like, but you telling me you don't relate to it and I should take it down is being disingenuous to all the people who go, that is me 100%. So I'm like, that's what, again, 3rd book, try to hit different aspects of it. So maybe you don't have the inner, that inner voice that's always telling you that you're a piece of shit and everyone's lying to you and OCD. Maybe you don't have that, which is awesome because it's exhausting from what I've seen.
Yeah.
What about
where were you getting at, Peggy?
The PTSD one, because like we've had a large, like I know ours specifically, words hard today, but like our veterans have responded a lot to the PTSD one because it's like the monster eating them from out, from the inside. So my patients have really resonated with that one. Where did you kind of get your inspiration for that one?
So surprisingly, I actually tried to avoid the veteran war side of it, because when people hear PTSD, they automatically think war
they
veteran.
think combat.
That's the cliche.
They think combat PTSD versus just general PTSD.
Right, which they're not wrong. Almost my brother-in-law did 3 years in Afghanistan, guy blown up by an IED, has PTSD from it. It's taken him a long time. He's at a better spot now, but when he came back, you saw it. It was real.
Yeah.
He would have his flashbacks in the middle of the night where he's married to my sister. He would grab her and throw her behind the couch, and he's just like yelling out orders, cold sweat, everything. But the PTSD that I cover is actually from sexual assault. So person I know that I used to work with at a cartoon company, they were at the time transitioning before like the transgender thing was like way more prevalent right now. They were severely assaulted multiple times over and over and over and over and over again up until they were, I think, 13 or 14. And because of it, had severe PTSD from it, had severe trust issues and all that stuff. And so they would tell me about the things that would trigger flashbacks and trigger these like complete breakdowns. And it could be a smell, it could be, a sound, just the way a door opens, if it reminds them of the way that person opened the door. And so I had that person being handcuffed, legs, kind of spread out, stuff like that, with this monster, assaulting that person. That's awesome to know, though, that the veterans also can relate to it, because I feel like, PTSD is, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. So, like, it can come in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
I feel like nurses, especially in the ER, we definitely suffer with it. I don't get like, I don't have anything that triggers me, but like, I know there's a lot of stuff that I've had to push away that will sometimes come out in a violent outburst later.
Yeah.
And I've gotten so far away from nursing now. I'm going on 5 years that I've left nursing. So like, I don't have that anymore. But like, my wife even told me when I was nursing, I'd come home every morning because I did night shift. I'd drink 2 bottles of wine. I mean, I would just slam them, pass the fuck out, wake up, be just irritated all day, go back to work, come home, do it again, drink 2 bottles of wine. And I'm not talking like sipping. I'm saying I'm chucking these bottles because I just want to go to sleep. I just want to forget everything that happened that night. And she has said, like, when I had left nursing, she goes, "You're pretty much a different person now because, like, you're as angry as you used to be." I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, you quieted the demon.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that one was more towards the sexual assault one. So the piece that Brittany, you emailed me about, that was actually for a soldier who had come back and wanted some type of depiction. So, and that was a hard one because he gave me a lot of different information to create it. I wish I would have had the opportunity to add that to the book, but it was very private to him. So like, that's why it's not available. I didn't add PTSD in the new book, but I did add CPTSD in. And that one's been asked for so many times. And so like, I really hope I nailed that one. That one took a little bit of time to understand. So I had to figure out how to put that one together correctly.
Yeah. We
So,
see that a lot in our, in our veterans too. A lot of them actually probably more so have complex PTSD.
General.
Too. Yeah, more than like the general, but we can't diagnose that here in the United States yet because we're behind. But, we understand it to be that instead. So we're treating that.
we will be for 3 more years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can't wait to see that one. I can't wait to see that one. But, in terms of like you're making this artwork, you're writing, you're doing these books in the, in the realm of like your Any Means Necessary and like the evolution of that, you've got the books, you've got the, the art, you've got like, I've got your tarot card here on the wall, the lovers, you've got a lot of different artwork happening. How did that evolve? And, what does it mean for you to see people with like your art in their house and like the t-shirts on and stuff?
It gets old because art was never really a thing I wanted to be like known for or to like make money at. I just did art. And I tell people all the time, like, I didn't choose to be an artist. I just was an artist. I was 5 years old. I found my dad's old Beetle Bailey drawings and his wildlife images that he drew. I was like, damn, my dad can draw. I was like, I wonder if I can draw. And I couldn't. I was terrible. But I enjoyed the process of it. And so I drew because I was drawn to it. I always say it's like this hunger I can't satiate to where I have to keep creating. And it never gets old to me seeing someone with it tattooed on them, wearing our shirt, seeing it in houses. Like that's something. I've been doing this now since I think professionally since 2010. So I was with this cartoon company, so a lot of my artwork got used to that. And it never gets old. It has never gotten old yet. People send me photos of like their bedrooms or like new, and every time it's like the first time I've ever seen it. I'm like, what the fuck? This is amazing. It's wild because I have such an imposter syndrome, which I feel like a lot of creatives have, where I'm just like, dude, I ain't shit. I'm not shit really either. I always tell people like, I'm not out there curing cancer with art.
I'm just me.
art. I'm just me. So like, I don't put myself at a level of like, you guys should fucking respect this because I'm an artist. Like, I'm not changing the world. I'm hoping a conversation gets started, but like, there's people out there that are like actually saving lives and doing hard work. And so I just, lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, seeing with people's artwork. Yeah, so like just seeing it, like it doesn't get old, it doesn't get boring. I don't take it for granted. Like I'm very excited when I see bands work. Like I grew up loving metal, loving bands like Seether and Korn, and so like seeing my work on there and hanging out with these bands at like concerts, like backstage, like where I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be in the VIP room. I've always wanted to be with the all access badge, and I get it now. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like 15-year-old me would be shitting his pants right now, and I'd be making fun of him for shitting his pants. But like, dude, we fucking made it, and you almost blew your brains out because of a fucking girl you don't even talk to anymore. It's just like, thank God. And that's always a thing that I'm going to segue into, like, a lot of people who talk about, they're battling like suicide ideation and all that stuff. I'm just like, it's always younger generation too. Like 13, 14, 15-year-olds. I'm like, guys, it's like, listen, now given situations that, they're in a sexual assault situation, I get it. They want out. They want to escape. But like a lot of people who are just like, dude, I'm just fucking depressed. I'm like, I feel you because I've been there. But like, dude, you have no idea what's coming. Like you got a whole life ahead of you that could just be fucking amazing, And I think about that stuff all the time where I'm like, every day since putting that gun to my mouth and not pulling the trigger has been a gift. And I feel like I'm not religious, but I feel like I've been rewarded in, having a beautiful family, having 2 awesome daughters, a wife that tolerates all my bullshit, having a vast audience that loves the stuff I put out, having a connection with people. Like all that could have been wiped away over, a moment of heartbreak.
Right.
And so like, there's times where like I don't respond to messages a lot. I get so many messages on Facebook and Instagram, and I feel so bad because I want to reply back to everyone, but I don't have time. And if I take the time to do it, it keeps me from actually doing stuff I have to do. And that part sucks a lot because I wish I could respond to everyone and just let them know that, like, I still appreciate you. Like, I'm not taking you guys for granted at all. I'm so overwhelmed by messages that if I stopped and really responded to each and every one of you, that's all I'd be doing for 8 hours a day.
Right.
Which isn't a good answer.
Like, I mean, but like you're here, you're right now, like you're seen, you're heard, you're respected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's like when I reached out, I was like, we were talking about it, stuff for the podcast, and I was like, I'm just gonna reach out. And then you responded, and I was like, oh my God, I did not expect that at all. So I love that.
Yeah, if it's mental health related,
yeah,
I'm always open to speak on podcasts, especially when it's about stuff like, stuff that matters to me. I do a lot of speaking events too at like schools for like anti-bullying and stuff like that because we have a lot of schools that like, there's bullies everywhere, but that bullying can then lead to suicide. And so I try to like really message to the bullies and to the people who are being bullied. That's like, guys, none of this fucking matters. Like, just get through high school, please.
It won't matter 5 years from now, please.
It won't. Not at all.
Right. And like you said, and it's not true. Like you're being very humble about it. Like we're just a small, like private practice. We work with veterans, first responders and stuff. And so I was like, we're just little baby us. And he's going to come talk to us, like you're this big art creator with this massive following of people who love you and your art. So I was like, this is great. He's going to come talk to us and tell us his story. So we're very thankful.
And then you'll be like, fuck, this dude's talking way too much. And we need
we love it.
I feel like
it's great.
I always worry that I'm going to give the wrong impression to people because I think people always think that I'm going to be like this dark and brooding artist because I draw such dark stuff. Like, guys, I have fucking fun. I play video games. I fucking goof off with my kids. I dance like an idiot with them. Like, my oldest daughter has like a little YouTube account and like she always makes me do dances with her. And I'm just like,
you're a normal human being.
I am like I'm not this fucking, like the stereotypical like dark artist where I'm just like, ooh, I'm
Where you
brooding.
walk
Like,
around in a black cape with a hood
yeah,
on all the time.
right. I wore a trench coat in high school, like we all did, who wore black. But yeah,
Did
no,
you go
like,
through a goth emo
He's
phase?
past his
oh yeah.
eyeliner phase, okay?
Yeah.
I used to wear dresses, combat boots, fishnets, makeup, lipstick. I
Stop
used to wear
it.
my girlfriend's dress all
Love
the
it.
time. I was really scrawny then, so like I put on a little bit of weight now, so I think I'd look weirder. But like back then, like that's just what we did, Like back then, like the goth, it still wasn't goth. They just called us goth kids. But like
Yeah.
in the '90s, like late '90s, early 2000s, like you really had that segmentation of
Yeah, it was
groups.
the
So
Yeah.
we
trench
were,
coat kids, the emo
yeah.
kids,
So
the
like,
goth kids.
well, we didn't even have emo kids. We just had it was goth kids, which was
Yeah.
us. So we were all black, big baggy pants, trench coats. Then you had like the jocks, then you had the preppy kids, and then you
Yeah.
had the thugs, like the hip hop kids. That was all we had in our school. And it was so much like 10 Things I Hate About You. Like it was fucking segmented. But even as like a goth kid, like I was never brooding. Everyone thought I was on heroin apparently, because I used to take the lipstick and put it around my eyes. I already have bags under my eyes, but it made my eyes look really sunken in. So they thought that was natural. They didn't realize it was makeup. So they're like, "Oh, we thought you were just on heroin all the
No.
time." I was like, I mean, I got good veins, but no, I wasn't. I didn't do any drugs until I was like 18, 19.
I'm
Oh no,
having
no,
a
sorry,
trauma
acid is
response
16.
thinking
I did
about
take
the
the acid.
baggy pants getting wet in the rain, like the
Yep.
big.
Yeah,
And
it's always the back part of your pants.
yeah,
So your
always
pants
the
like
back.
slope down.
And then like the wetter they get, like the higher the water goes up the back of your pants.
Yep. Or like you buy the one pair of pants for $65 and you wear them for a month straight because that's all you
Yeah.
can afford.
Well,
Yeah, for sure. The emo culture didn't come out till like mid to late 90s. Before that, you were just goth or you weren't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, 'cause,
Like,
like
yeah.
if you listen to Cure, like I don't know, we didn't really call anyone emo until I think like My Chemical Romance came out. Like that
Yeah.
was emo to us, but like anyone who wore black was considered a goth kid at our school. So if you listen to The Cure or yeah, what was that one group? I can't remember his name. The other one, but like Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of grouped us all together.
Like metal,
Even like the
generally
metalheads.
speaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metal is great. I love metal. Metal's my favorite. Me and my boss are like metalheads. I got my son into metal. He started with like Slaughter to Prevail, and now he's gone
Oh,
even
nice.
further into he even listens to heavier stuff than I do. So I'm like, that's yours. I'm not
You
going to
should
go that deep.
listen to Wage War. I love that band so much.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't we get you one of those? Is that the record we got you for, or Christina got you for Christmas, Peggy? Wage War?
I want to say it is. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I
It's
listen to
man,
everything.
they're so good
I
live.
just listen to everything old, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's an
Good.
old person in her heart. Well, before we end, because we're like at an hour, and I'm surprised that you've lasted this long after you said after about 45 minutes you tap out.
I ate a lot of junk food before I got on.
I'm glad. And I can tell because you're like, you're, well, like Peggy said, you're stimming. Like, before we go, is there anything else you want to add when people are feeling unseen or when they're kind of struggling, kind of like you did when they're at the end of their rope? Is there anything you want to add or tell them?
Well, it's kind of hard because I don't know what people are going through.
Right. Fair.
So like, I don't know what's put them in that position. So if it's like, again, are they being sexually assaulted every day? It's gonna be kind of hard for me to say like, hey man, keep going at it. You'll
fair.
survive. It's like, you know what I mean? But if it's like, I always try to speak to the younger generation because our generation is fucked. Like we're set in our ways. That's just what it is. So like, we just try to get a little bit better every time with the next generation. So like, I try to tell these kids, I was like, none of this matters in the grand scheme of it as you're growing up. Like when I was talking about, your friends, your society, like where you are socially in the social ladder of school, like none of it matters. So don't let that stuff weigh you down. And if you're being bullied, remember that person bullying you is probably because they're being bullied too. And the quote, hurt people hurt people. And so I just say, like, listen, there's resources everywhere. If you're ever feeling at the bottom of like, there's no way out, there's always someone you can reach out to. There's hotlines, there's friends, family, and if you find someone that you trust that won't listen to you, find the next person. Find the next person. But there's a quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it was something along the lines of, the world is brighter with your light in it. So stay a little longer, keep it brighter, I guess. As poorly said. But I talk about just like, each of us is a light. And the more light there is, obviously the brighter everything is for us. So the less of us there are, the darker it gets. So just stick around a little longer. I promise you. Should say promise. I hope it gets better for you.
There we go.
That's all we have time for today, everyone. We want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Holding the Line with Got Your Six, where we are just a bunch of therapists who talk about the shit nobody else wants to talk about. We hope you got something useful out of it, or at least made you feel seen. A special thanks to our guests for taking the time to join us and share their unique perspectives and life experiences. New episodes drop every other week on our YouTube channel, Holding the Line GY6. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we post more helpful info, dark humor, and more of the shit nobody else wants to talk about. In the words of someone wiser than us, go forth and do magical shit, everyone.
Got better for you, right?
It did. So I'm kind of a walking example of, I was at the end of the rope. Funny story is, the only reason why I didn't pull the trigger is my friend called me on the landline, because that's how old I am, and just asked me, what am I doing? I said nothing. He goes, let's go hang out. So I said, all right. So I put it away and I left. That's the only reason why I didn't pull the trigger.
Why is he
I'm
acting
not
like
doing
he's
anything.
this old?
I
Why
know.
is he
That's like
acting
he's
like
70
you're
years
so
old.
old?
I feel old. My daughter tells me all the time I'm old.
We have teenagers.
Yeah. I don't feel old. Like, I feel great. Like, my 40s have been amazing. I don't think I've felt, besides I have like a rotator cuff issue, but like besides that, like, I feel fucking amazing.
Oh no, I keep pissing my husband off because I'm like, I'm not 40 yet. I got a month.
I'm not
Well,
4
I will
years,
tell you, like
so
my mom
I'm the
says,
baby here.
my mom told me, she said the 40s were the best years of her life. She goes, as soon as I hit 50 though, everything fell apart. But she said those 40s, she says, were phenomenal. She goes, I've never felt better. And so far she's been right.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, if you don't have anything else, Peggy, and you feel pretty good, then I'll go ahead and call it. Thanks for listening. I don't even know what episode this is. I've stopped counting. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm going to end it
Bye,
here.
bitches.